The Canon EOS R1. It's a failure. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of fireside. So good. So good. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today is a photo day. You guys have been asking me for a photo day for a while, and I'm going to give one to you today. Well, by now you know that I believe the R1 is a failure, but I'm going to explain to you why. Because once again, like I always say, this channel is always about the why. Now, I guess I should preface all this. I am a Canon shooter for decades. I have probably about half a dozen or more Canon cameras in the lockbox over there. I brought out this one just to show you an oldie, but a goodie. This right here is my first professional Canon camera. And this is a Canon, as you can see, the EOS R1. You know what? Let me do a top-down shot on this so you can see this thing. Look at this. This is an EOS 1D. This is the first of the 1Ds. This thing is old. And this cost me around, I think it was about $7,500, $8,000. Look at this. This thing has been through war. Cracked screen, the whole 9 yards. It weighs about, I don't know, 3 pounds, it feels like. The battery in it is massive. These things go through war, literally, and they come back. You can actually hit someone over the head with this, and they're probably not going to be around for very long. Anyways, so this is the EOS 1D. This is the first one. I have the 1D Mark II, Mark IIIs, all the rest of them, but I wanted to show you the oldie because just to give you an idea, this is a 4.3 or 4.7 megapixel camera for $7,500. 4.7 megapixels, right? Anyways, so I'm an old-time Canon shooter. I've been shooting Canon forever, but I do TV and other stuff where we use Sonys, we use Reds, we use all kinds of stuff. Anyway, so I really don't care what camera it is. I will use anything. Now, I've talked about this R1 for years, since before like 2020 or something. It's been literally like 4 years now. We've been talking about this Canon EOS R1. And there was a few things that I said that this thing needed to have. If not, it'll be a failure. And I'll get into that today. And we're going to go through some of the bullet points. Now, this was leaked as of today, so we're getting all of the information actually pre-release. So all of this is, I would say, 95 to 99% accurate at this point. So just keep that in mind. I do not have the camera, right? It is not out on the market yet. We're just looking at what this camera is going to have. And the reason why I do think it's a failure and why I will not be purchasing it right away or putting in a pre-order for it, which I said I was going to do way back in 2022, I think it was. So before we go through these bullets and then I give you my thoughts on it, I want to ask that when you're done watching this video down below, put your thoughts. I want to know what you think about this. What do you think about this in comparison to other cameras that are already in the market? Number one, if you don't want to put anything down there, that's fine. Put an emoji. Put a pink poop emoji or a rocket ship or a camera or something, just so that I know that you have been watching. Anyways, if you enjoy the content, throw it a thumbs up. That'll be very helpful. Don't forget to subscribe if you are not. And if you are, I appreciate you. Thank you. Click this little notification button over here so when I go live, when a new video comes out, you will be notified of it immediately, if not sooner, according to YouTube. I appreciate that, YouTube. Also, if you want to say thank you for all of my hard work, there's a little thank you button down here. You can give $1 or $2 if you like. If not, that's perfectly fine. The video is still free. Consider becoming a member of the channel. That would be even better. And if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks, check them out. They are free just for you being here. Go to JCristina.com/books. Once again, JCristina.com/books. So let's jump right into this. And once again, I'll give you my commentary on it. And then finally, I want to hear from you. What do you think about all of this? So one of the first bullets says that it has an upgraded autofocusing system, a cross-type AF, right, built into the sensor. And I think that is actually wonderful. There's a lot of times, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know, if you get an image that has a lot of linear areas on it, a lot of lines, sometimes shirts with lines, sometimes you're taking a picture of a boardwalk or something, you have all these lines. It doesn't like it. It doesn't know what to focus on, right? So this new cross type AF is going to fix a lot of that. And I think that that is probably one of the best things that they did here. Anyways, that's number one. Number two, it does have eye control, meaning that when you're looking through the EVF, what you're looking at is what it's going to autofocus on if you have that turned on. Now, that is good, but there's nothing to see here. It's nothing new. This is already old news. This was done in 2021 with the Canon EOS R3. So this is just basically putting the R3 technology into the R1, maybe souping it up a little bit because the processor is going to be a little bit better. We'll get into the processor in just a second. Now, it does have a 24.2 megapixel sensor. And I figured it was going to be low. I didn't think it was going to be a high megapixel sensor. And the reason being is all of these 1Ds are always low megapixels, 12 megapixels, 18, 20, whatever. They're very low. This one, once again, is 4.7 megapixels, I believe it is, right? Low megapixels. And the reason being is they're for extremely fast shooting, right? You don't need a ton of megapixels, but you just need to get the shot. And that's what they are made for. Extremely rugged and reliable and lower megapixels. So 24.2 megapixel sensor makes sense, and it is their own. Canon is actually making this sensor themselves. They're not acquiring it from a third party and then slapping their sticker on it like some manufacturers do. We won't name any names. So this is all good. Now, the problem here is it has dual pixel AF. Dual pixel AF. Now, back in 2020, like right around the COVID times, they started talking about this quad pixel AF and how we're moving into it. And they were doing tests in 2021, 2022, somewhere on there. A lot of testing on quad pixel AF. And I said, that just makes perfect sense because we have had dual pixel AF since the Canon, I believe it was a 70D back in like 2013. What is that, like 11 years ago? We've had dual pixel AF. Now, does it work? Yes, it's tried and true. It works really well. They stuck it in this camera, but they shouldn't have because this is a flagship camera. This is their best of their best. This is the EOS R1. Really? Why wouldn't you put quad pixel in it to make it at least stand out? Nope. Once again, nothing to be seen here. We have the exact same AF system. I don't get it. Now, it does have this built-in neural upscaling or something where it will create a 96 megapixel image in 10 seconds with that 24 megapixel capture. So it's basically doing a 4 times is what it's doing. Well, is that big news? That's doing upscaling in the camera? No. You have Fujifilm has done it. Olympus has done it. I mean, Sony has done it. It's called pixel shift. It's like, what are you talking about? They're using this as a bullet point as like something that's amazing that it's doing, that's something new. It's the same old, same old. So it does this built-in upscaling. All right, once again, it has been done. For years has it been done. Now, the next thing is this they call it pre-continuous shooting. What does that mean? That means that it captures a half of a second of images before you fully depress the shutter. Okay, so when you're half pressed, it's capturing images and it will keep a half a second so you don't miss a shot. Now, people that aren't in the know will be like, that is absolutely wonderful. And it is pretty cool. That is wonderful. But Olympus has been doing it. Panasonic has been doing it. The Nikon Z9 has it. Matter of fact, the Nikon Z9 calls it pre-release burst mode. Whatever. You could call it whatever you want. But once again, this is nothing new. This is no new news. Once again, same old, nothing to see here. Now, the next bullet point has to do with the Digix accelerator. Now, this is something big, according to them. It has a Digix accelerator besides the Digix 10, the Digix X image processor built into it. Is this a big deal? Well, the Digix 10, to start out with, came out in 2020. So the Digix 10 or the Digix X is 4 years old. So no new news here at all. The Digix accelerator isn't new news. What is the difference between a Digix accelerator and a Digix 10 or a Digix X? What is the difference? Well, if you use the analogy of like computers, the Digix X would be the CPU, whereas the Digix accelerator would be the GPU. So the camera will offload some of that processing over to the GPU just like a computer would. So it doesn't have to do it. It could do all the computational stuff within the CPU and then all the extra stuff like graphic processing, noise reduction, image enhancements, that deep learning crap that they talk about. All that will happen in that GPU or their Digix accelerator. Is this new news or is it old news? It is old news. Why do I say that? The Canon EOS R3 back in 2021 already did this. They just didn't call it that. So if you guys didn't know it, the EOS R3 back in 2021 had a CPU, which is that Digix X processor, and it had a GPU, which was a Digix 8 processor. They just didn't call it an accelerator. It was just a Digix 10 and a Digix 8 in the same body. It had two Digix. That's it. One for the computational stuff, one for the after stuff, just like a CPU, GPU type of thing. So it's been done before. They just slapped the name on it now. So once again, there is nothing to be seen here. Absolutely nothing. Now, the next bullet point they talk about is what it captures. It captures 6K RAW, which is actually really good, MP4 files, which is fantastic, 4KD, 4KU, 2KD, as well as full HD. That's all good. I want to know how it's going to process within DaVinci or within whatever software package that you're using, whatever NLE, nonlinear editor that you're using. We'll see. We'll see how that codec is. We don't know. We've seen them do some crazy stuff in the past, right? With the 5Ds, but we won't get into any of that problem. The next thing is the EVF. They said this is just an unbelievable EVF, the best EVF that we've ever had. This EVF is an OLED and it is 9.44 megapixels. Well, that is awesome for an EVF. Does anyone else have an EVF that's that powerful? Yeah. The Sony A1, that has 9.44 megapixels, the exact number. Why is that? It's kind of weird, right? We won't get into it. Also, the Sony A7 R5, what does it have? 9.44 megapixels. So, once again, there's absolutely nothing to be seen here. It is like what is already out there. Next, we have it captures video simultaneously as it captures photo. So does any other camera do the exact same thing? Of course they do. I mean, Panasonic, the GH5, the GH5 Mark II, way back 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it is now, forever ago it seems, it did it. As well as the Sony, the A1 does it, no problem. The Z9 over there at Nikon, it does it. And of course, its own camera, the EOS, the 1DX Mark III, it also will do it. It will take photos while you are recording video. Once again, there's no news here. It's literally same old, same old, same old. They have some other bullet points here. Action, priority mode, or people priority mode, and it has dust and weather resistance, no crap. So there's nothing really there. Yes, you can set it up so it does capture in action mode, so it's watching what's going on with its deep learning bullshit that they always talk about. Yes, it's going to probably track better, okay? So we're going to end up with better tracking on this, I would venture to say. But I think where the rubber meets the road here is with the next bullet point. And they say virtually no rolling shutter due to fast sensor readout speeds. 40 FPS. I don't care. Yes, 40 FPS is great. 40 frames per second is great to be able to capture. But man, this is absolutely, in my personal opinion, the biggest fail of all. Way back in 2020, 2021, I said, listen, these new cameras are going to have to get a global shutter. They're going to have to move away from this rolling shutter because a lot of these cameras are hybrids and they shoot not only photo, but they shoot video, and the video looks like trash because it has a rolling shutter in comparison to a global shutter. Some people are like, just slow down, Joe. What the hell is the difference between a global shutter and a rolling shutter? And I'm glad you asked me that. A rolling shutter works like this. As it's capturing images, it scans over the sensor. That's how it is capturing the image. It scans fast, but it's scanning over the image. So if things are moving really quickly in the area that it's capturing, well, it's missing stuff, right? That's why you get this taffy look all right, or this jello kind of effect. So if you are capturing video of a prop on a plane, with a rolling shutter, the prop will start looking like if it's bending like taffy, or someone that's hitting a baseball, or someone that is hitting a golf ball and you see that club is like bent around the guy. It's not really bent. It's just it can't capture it fast enough. In comparison to a global shutter captures the entire frame, the entire sensor, all at once, like this. So at 30 frames per second, at 60, or however fast, it's capturing all of those megapixels all at once. So there is no taffy look, there is no jello effect as it's scanning across the sensor. That's old tech. Now, Sony put this out there literally months ago with their A9 Mark III. When Sony released that, it was the world's first for a global shutter in one of these cameras. And at the time I said, listen, if Canon does not come out with a global shutter to match Sony, it's a complete and utter failure. And they didn't. It's a rolling shutter with just simply a faster processor. And actually, instead of having one processor, you have two, just like with the Canon EOS R3. They just called it an accelerator. So you have a CPU and a GPU. Big damn shit here. This is, once again, there's nothing to see. This is a failure. This is a flagship camera from Canon, and it literally has old tech, or maybe upgraded, but old technology or old innovation. Or I should say, no innovation, just iteration. It is really, really upsetting, in my personal opinion. Because I tell you what, guys, when I saw this, I'm like, you know what? This is finally it. I've been talking about this on the channel forever, and finally now I'm going to be able to do it. I am going to put in a pre-order for this EOS R1, and I'm going to replace some of those 1Ds that I have sitting in the cabinet. I am absolutely not going to do it. I'm going to wait to see how good this camera is once it's in the wild and people are testing it out and we see some real world tests on it. Not the tests by the shills where they say everything is fantastic. Literally the test from you and me, those type of YouTube videos, right? Not the shills. That's all bullshit, right? We know it. They're getting paid to do those tests, not those. I want to see how it actually works. And if it works really well, I might still get one, but I tell you what, pre-order is an absolutely not. If Canon would have released the EOS R1 with a global shutter instead of a rolling shutter, and with quad pixel AF instead of 11-year-old technology of dual pixel AF, this would have been a no-brainer. Here's all of my money, and I would have pre-ordered it. But the way it stands now, there is absolutely no way in hell that I could pre-order this camera. They've literally been working on this thing for 5-6 years now. Literally forever. Like COVID times they were talking about this R1. It's ridiculous. And they've been talking about the quad pixel for many, many, many years also, like 2-3 years at least. It is really disappointing to me, guys, really disappointing. So once again, this is not a review of the camera. I do not have the camera to be able to test out. This is just me looking at the specs as of right this second when they're being, let's say, outed a day prior to when they actually should have been released. And I would say that this information is 95 to 99% accurate at this point. And everything that we see here is absolutely a fail, in my personal opinion. Now, is it a good camera? Will it be absolutely awesome? And will it be a great camera for a professional like what I've been using, all of the 1Ds for many, many, many moons? Absolutely, absolutely. Nothing will be taken away from this camera besides the point that it is not reached the level of a flagship camera. It is not innovative. It is iterative. And that's the kind of that pisses me off. That's my personal opinion. What say you? What do you think? Down below, I want to hear from you. If you enjoyed the content, even at least, maybe you found it entertaining. Maybe not. Throw it a thumbs up. That would be awesome. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools I've invented for you and me over the many years. And hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay connected, and we'll see you in the next one. Love y'all.